Taryn's here with a raid, everybody. Taryn, welcome in. How's it going? Sorry, I'm a little bit slow today. I am also a bit sniffly sneezy. Apologize in advance if I'm leaning out of camera frame a lot today or if my sneezing peaks the mic at any point. There has been a lot of smoke in the air in our area, and there was a fire in town here last night. Not a big one. It was very quickly contained, but there's just a lot of smoke particles in the air right now, and I think it's starting to affect my sinicles. So if I'm sniffly sneezy, if I'm leaning out of frame a lot, I apologize in advance. Just bear with me. The September has become the month of fires, it seems. So just dealing with a little bit of that. But I'm here. I'm here, and I'm hopefully ready to do work. We'll find out soon. We got Blur with first. Blur, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you. Sardinisms is here. Can't decide what to read. Nothing is grabbing and holding me. I wish I could help. He didn't answer. That makes the call extra fast. Heck yeah. Pie! You're just on time. You're just on time. Ain't no party like a dinosaur party. Heck yeah. Wave those teeny tiny T-Rex arms. Is everyone good besides sinuses being crazy? I think so, at least in our neck of the woods. Ghost Pepper has what they call curriculum night tonight at his school. So that is where parents can basically come in and find out what their kids are going to be learning for the year. So they're supposed to give like basically a 3-sentence rundown to distill everything that they're teaching for every class for the whole year. So I don't really understand the point of this because I feel like parent teachers and report card comments cover this, but it's a fancy private school, so they do this sort of thing. The parents can come in, they can hear what the teachers have to say, and inevitably one teacher talks way longer than they're supposed to, so that's always fun to hear about. But Ghost Pepper has that happening tonight, so that's happening. And then tomorrow's Friday. Poot, hello! To make parents feel involved or like they have some input possibly. Maybe, I guess. It's like, they don't get to change what the teachers are, like the curriculum has already been approved. They're just talking about it. They're just talking about it. They do try, it's funny because at Ghost Pepper's school, the parents are always like, we want more communication. But it's like, they already send out an email to the parents every week that has everything that's going on in the school. They already send out, like, really complicated report card comments, like, 4 times a year. Like, they get progress reports and stuff. They have, like, parent-teacher night options. It's like, this school communicates, like, way more than any other school I've ever, like, even heard of. And the parents are always like, we want more communication. And I always look at Ghost Pepper and I'm like, they aren't reading it. They aren't reading the communications that you're sending them. That's why they keep asking for more. So you're just screaming into the void because they're not reading it. But yeah, I guess it makes them feel involved. To know what their kids are learning about. So, just to me, it's like, how much do you really get from the 3-sentence summary of every class? But, you know, is what it is. As a writer, aren't you supposed to tell me to read your books? Read my books if you want to, I guess. Please, thanks. I'm really bad at promoting myself. We see how bad I am at promoting myself. I have books. You can read them. If you want to, maybe. Possibly. Trying to organize kiddos' homeschooling binder, getting ready to buy a 6-inch 3-ring binder to hold it all. Heck yeah! We have actually, I used to love 3-ring binders. We have a ton of 3-ring binders in our house because Ghost Pepper has a bunch that organize his like class stuff, like his portfolio of classes, and I have a bunch. I used to use a 3-ring binder as my day planner as well. So big fan of 3-ring binders. I appreciate that you don't do that because the last thing I need right now is another option. Listen, I want people to read my books, but I'm really bad about being like, oh yeah, I wrote a book, you can read it. Tomorrow I have my first parent-teacher conference. Nice! I hope it goes well. I hope it goes really well. At the younger years, I think it's generally just, hey, here's what's going on with your kid, versus at Ghost Pepper's level, it's like, this is what your child needs to get into college, and also this is what college programs your kid should be looking into. But inevitably, every parent is like, we want our child to be an engineer, whether or not they are able to be an engineer, so that's always interesting. And also hearing, we want them to be an engineer so they don't need English skills. And him being like, well, here's the thing now. Actually, they do. You hate 3-ring binders? Oh, no. I just love organization. I'm one of those people, if somebody, like, hired me to just make 3-ring binders for them of, like, all their stuff, if they just brought me a huge stack of papers and were like, organize this, you don't have to talk to anyone during the process, you can just do it, I would be like, yes, I would do that. I would be making lists and organizing things. Is there a job that involves doing just that and not talking to people? Because I would love to do that job. I'll read them eventually, but right now I have a huge front log as opposed to the back log where the eventual reads are. Listen, I have a like 10-year TBR. I get it. Friend promotion, hell yeah. I'll tell everybody else to read everybody else's books. Oh, Taryn, you're so nice. Yeah, one of the interesting things is when people ask me about marketing in general is always because they're inevitably like, I feel weird talking about myself, and I'm like, me too. It's weird to me. It's weird to me that to talk about, like, even just when people like ask me, oh, how's the writing going? Sometimes I feel so weird like talking about it because I'm like, it just feels really weird to me to like talk myself up and be like, yeah, I wrote this thing and I think it's really awesome. Like I'm instantly undermining myself because I'm like, I think it's good, maybe, I don't know what other people think, versus what you're supposed to do is be like, I wrote this thing, it's really great, you should read it, it's on Amazon right now. One of the first things that you kind of have to learn about marketing is that it does involve talking about yourself very enthusiastically and very often. And I'm just not that person. Imagine all of my books just floating around in the background, and what I'm supposed to do is take one and shove it under your nose, but instead they just keep hovering in the background like, we exist. She wrote us. We went to a friend's house. This was way back during the pandemic. We went to a friend's house for Thanksgiving. And she's a chef, so it was an amazing Thanksgiving. And she had invited just a couple of people from her life, but they're older than we are. So a lot of these people were, older, more experienced. We were in our mid-30s, and these were people in their late 50s, early 60s that we were having conversations with. And at one point in the night, one of these older gentlemen, very fascinating people, one of these older gentlemen looked at me and said, "You've lived a very interesting life." And it threw me. I was just like, because I don't feel like I have. until somebody else tells me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I have done some cool things in my life. But it was very interesting. It was very interesting to have somebody who was older and more experienced than me telling me, you have fascinating stories, you've had fascinating experiences. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should talk about what I've done more often because apparently people find it fascinating. I found a meme today that said, I'm planning to read my whole TBR. I'm right on schedule to finish by my 657th birthday. Accurate. Accurate. I should also read them. Everybody read the books. Read the books that you want to read. Maybe mine are in there somewhere. I feel this deep in my soul. I'm a top tier behaviorist, but I'm real bad with the business part. Part of that is stinky imposter syndrome. Part of it too, though, is that business requires a completely different mindset, and this is something that I'm constantly being reminded of and that I constantly struggle with, is like the business world just works differently, and people approach business conversations differently than they approach conversations with like friends. And this is something that I constantly learn the hard way, and I constantly struggle with because I am too genuine of a person to be a business person. I don't tend to think of business me and me, like personal me, as like two separate people, which I think you kind of are supposed to do. When I am interacting with the people, say in my editing business for other authors, like I'm approaching that as I am an author who is friends with this other author and I'm trying to help them out. Yes, it's for money because they're paying for my time, but I'm not like, I approach conversations with them as I would approach a conversation with just a writing buddy, and I've had that bite me in the ass before. And so there's this other side of business that's really cutthroat, and that people just think of business and how business is run in a certain way, and I have trouble doing that. Imposter syndrome or not, like I have trouble doing that because I just have trouble thinking of things as business transactions versus, you know, people that I'm helping out. And I definitely think that makes it harder for me in the business world, to function in the business world, because it's anathema to me. It's so vastly different from the way that I'm comfortable communicating that I just really struggle to do it. And there are times, and I hate this, but there are times when I often think if I was just a little bit more unscrupulous as a person, just like a tiny ounce unscrupulous, I would be like 10 times more successful. And I hate that. Obviously, I'm not 10 times more successful, so I've never gotten that tiny drip of less scrupulous in my life. But there are times where I'm very much like, if I lied just a tiny bit, I bet I could do this so much better. And I don't feel comfortable with that. I think that says a lot about our society, but business does work different. Choosing is hard. I can't read as fast as I can find more stuff I want to read, but I have too much already. I have a 10-year TBR, so I feel that. Hey Blur, how's it going? I think I have to take a couple days off from writing because my wrists are hurting through the braces. Probably a good idea. If you're in pain and writing is making it worse. $2 never enough time, but hang in there. Whichever book you choose is a book for reading. That is always a win. Reading rules. Yes, true. There's always, you know, I know. I know there's not infinite time, but there's always time. There'll be time to read the things. There'll be time to read the things in the future. Honestly, too, I have learned recently that if you're trying to do something, like if you're trying really hard to do something and your brain won't do that thing, there's usually a reason. And it could just be, like, maybe you just need a break from reading for a few days. Maybe you just need to immerse yourself in a game that you want to play, or an activity, a hobby, a craft that you've been neglecting, or something that kind of gives your brain space from it. And then when you come back to it, then your brain will latch onto it again and be like, oh yeah, this thing, I do enjoy doing this thing. I had been pushing myself a lot with reading my own work, and it got to the point where just reading anything at all was becoming difficult for me. So I definitely got some distance from that, and then it felt like, okay, now I'm excited about reading again. Now my brain is like, yes, I want to have more things in me again. So sometimes pushing through is just not the answer. I need to get better at remembering to ask before I'm like, you should do. You know what? I think it's good to just ask. It doesn't often occur to me to do that, but it's really good to just be like, hey, what do you want in this situation? Because often I don't want solutions. I just want to complain for a minute, and then I'll figure myself out later. Just having some food before I start video editing. I'm doing pretty okay, Blur. A little sniffly, because there's a lot of smoke here. You guys can see I keep wiping my eye, because my eyes are just watering today for no reason. What food did you have, Blur? I picked up Dreamlight Valley during my lunch and did some of the Star Path. Nice! We promised that we were going to make a train today, so I guess we better at least get started on doing that before we do a sprinty spront. So we got our base train. And we're gonna do, for Willow today. So I remember that there's this. There's like the, like grassy floor. And I feel like this is gonna be where Willow lives. Is gonna be au natural. I do wish you could change. I wish they would give you like, I wish they'd separate out the wallpaper and like the accents and stuff so that you could change it a little bit more, but so I like that, but I also kind of really like that. I'm not gonna lie, that looks really cool. Ooh, leftover spaghetti? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Speaking of hobbies, I have this celestial octopus pattern that I've been working on for so long, and I finally started picking colors for it. It's such a small step, but I've started picking colors for it. You can maybe kind of see. And I've been having a really challenging time getting my shades. There's a lot of different shades of blue and purple in this, and I am having trouble making sure that they're doing what I want them to do, but we're getting there. Had Burger King original chicken sandwich. Nice! I have not had Burger King in so long because in Canada, Burger King is garbage. But that sounds like it's delicious. Alright, let's just fiddle around with coloration here. So that's that, and then I don't think I want to change those two colors, but I do want to potentially change the wood. Although I guess what I should do is change my seating first. That doesn't look comfortable, but I do feel like it's very willowy. Normally I'm like, give me the comforts. But there's something about this that just strikes me as like very willowy. I do also like that though. Oh yeah, we did a lot of pink. Pink turned out to be a big color for Willow. Totally unplanned, but there ended up being a lot of pink. There ended up being a lot of pink in Willow's room. Do you find with metals in this game, it can be really hard to get them to color? Which I guess makes some sense, but I do wish it was easier. I do wish it was a little easier to tint them. I often just end up leaving them the default color, even if it doesn't quite do what I want it to do. Like, I wish they'd make a section that's specifically for metals. A lot of old-fashioned, old-timey. None of the woods match each other. Why? Why do you have to be like this? Why? Maybe I should change. Oh, why? Did I? No, 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 no. No! Why? Okay. Okay, I did change it. I originally had it there. Okay. Oops. Would you like to tell me why none of you match? Why you're the same material but you don't match in color? Can you please explain to me why this is a thing that's been done? Why must you be like this? I guess that's the closest match. I guess that's the closest match. Even though I'm not super thrilled about it. Ooh, I kind of like that. I did say we would go with the green wreaths for... I wish I could do both. I wish I could have this and this. I'm sad that I can't have both, but sure. Okay. You can, I just can't get the so it's the shading, right? Different materials in the game have different types of shading. So even if I put the same color on two different types of wood, like for some reason the wood of the table and the wood on the chairs has a slightly different shade to it. So just selecting the colors. I mean, I guess I could probably do, I could probably screw with the slider a little bit to get it to be closer, but I just wish that if this would and this would have the same color on them, why don't the shades match? Why is it so hard to make the shades match? It's just me being really particular about wanting my different tones and shades to be similar. I actually might, now that I've done that, I might change that back. Then I instantly changed my mind about it. My thing is always that I don't spend a ton of time on like I don't spend a ton of time necessarily on like the shape of things, but the colors I just spend a million years trying to decide. I think Willow would definitely have a plushie. They don't have an alligator, so we'll go with a shark. She would do the unicorn though. We'll do the shark inside. We can do the unicorn outside. And a snick. How rude that I have to re-unlock, because I have that boba in the house. This is usually the drink that I end up getting for her, is the coconut one. For whatever reason, that and the boba are the ones that I usually end up going for. May as well be consistent. Just thinking they do match, then I remembered that I'm colorblind to dark colors, so they look the same. I mean, probably they match more than I think they do. It's just that the shade of this is slightly redder than the shade of the table is slightly redder than the shade. Listen, I grew up around a lot of wood. I grew up around a lot of wood stuff, okay? I saw somebody on the Discord posted yesterday that they had like 22,000 spirit credits and they were like, oh, I saved some money. And I was like, I have 90,000 of those. I need to just go through and do another mass unlock of stuff at some point. Alright. Now, first of all, we need to be the right person. So now we are Willow, and Willow would probably be traveling. I always have to turn the train speed down for this one, because I feel like this landscape just friggin' mows past. So, ooh, the window is bigger than I anticipated. I do like that. And let's do afternoon lighting. And who do we want to hang out with? Who shall we hang out with today? Maybe we should hang out with the courier. He's a sweet little boy. He doesn't have a ton of activities that he does, unfortunately. Oh, he's so cute when he sleeps. It keeps, for some reason, whenever I switch back to my other character, it keeps undoing my setting for the laptop, which is really annoying. But there we go. We've done it. We've created a train for Willow to be on. And it's beautiful. I'm happier with that. Listen, I'm gonna stop fiddling with things. Alright. It's time to get started on edits. This is the final round of edits for this book. It's 2 action scenes. 2 action scenes. We did the first part of this battle on Tuesday. I do have a ton of notes, but I always have a ton of notes for this sort of thing. So we'll see how it goes. First, I'm gonna take a quick cheeky break to reheat my coffee and get my affairs in order. To use the washroom. I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it was. I'm gonna use the washroom and get my affairs in order, and we're gonna get started on these edits. We've got 3 rounds of productivity today, 30-minute sprints, 15-minute breaks, and we will do the exterior of Willow's train when we get a chance. So I will be right back, and we'll jump right straight into it. right. Let's get the clockwork gears in this brain turning. Thank you, Blur. Thank you, Shy. Alright. Let's do the real reason we're all here, which is technically productivity. Technically. Technically here to listen to me mutter at my work. Nyx is here. Nyx Flair, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Taryn, good luck with the pickup. I hope the rest of your day goes well. Raiders, hello. Nyx and friends are here. We just got started on our first prompt. Our prompt? Why did I call it that? Our first sprint of the day. Our first pommo of the day. That's what I'm looking for. Waited until you were back from BRB. Oh, I appreciate you, Nyx. I do have a bad habit of going on break like as soon as someone's ready to raid me. How is your productivity today? I apologize, I'm a little bit sniffly. There's a ton of smoke and ash in the air here from fires this week. So if I am very sniffly or lean out of frame a lot, just a heads up. And I also might sneeze a lot. I will try to lean away from the mic. Got lots done, but not enough of the words done. There's always more words to do. But you got more words than you had before, and that's always a win. Every new word is a win. Simply Wisty, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. How's it going? It's nice to meet you, Simply Wissy. What were you up to today? We are in the middle of our first sprint here, first productivity sprint, and I'm doing some edits. It's going slowly, but we're getting there. It's a battle scene, so I have to do some additions. Was working on expanding some notes for my novel. Heck yeah! Needed to get some details in place before continuing my draft. Makes sense. I have started a new work in progress these past few weeks, and I am noticing as I go through that my notes are not as detailed as I thought. I'm like, I made really detailed notes, and then I get to the scene, and I'm like, I did not make really detailed notes. This, this battle is rougher than I anticipated. Hang on. I need to adjust a few things before I properly break here. Much better. Sometimes you just gotta dig in a little bit extra and make sure that the words are actually doing what you want them to do. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Blur, for the save alert. I shall do that now. Just because we had a bunch of new people come in on the raid, I know I was very quiet when that happened. I do apologize. I try to do focus during the pommos and talk mostly during the breaks. But welcome in anyone who might be unfamiliar with me. My name is Megan Cutler, aka Starborn Striker. I am a sci-fi and fantasy author. I do this full time. If you are interested in learning more about my work, you can hit that exclamation books command to go to my website or my Amazon store to learn more about the things that you see in the about section below. If you have any questions about any, thank you, Blur. If you have any questions about any specific series, please feel free to ask. And if you hit exclamation newsletter, you can sign up for my newsletter and get 2 free novellas. One of them is a sci-fi novella called The Paradox Syndrome, which is about a time paradox. And the second one is called The Oracle's Tale, after the Canterbury Tales. And it is a fantasy short about an oracle. So that's me. I'm here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning Pacific time from 10:30 a.m. PST till around 1:30, 2 o'clock p.m. PST, working on stuff. So for anyone who's new, it's nice to meet you. Simply Wisty, I know you probably had some stuff to take care of, and Nick Flair as well after your raids, because you always gotta do some self-care when you finish up a stream. But thank you so much for trusting your precious audience with me. I appreciate the heck out of it. And if you stuck around, please let me know what you're up to and how it's going. Also, X-Firefly9X, hello, welcome in. I'm sorry I didn't get to greet you sooner. Oh my goodness. What I'm gonna do now is take a quick break, reheat my coffee, because we have got we've got at least one hydrate on the board, and I'd love to do that with hotter coffee. And when I get back, we'll start working on Willow's exterior train for a hot second in between our sprints, so I'll be right back. And we are back. We have got a hydrate for Blur. Cheers, Blur. Thank you. I am definitely suffering this morning of my tendency to just write whatever for a battle scene and then be like, I can make this make sense later. Because now I'm at the part where I have to make it make sense. I'm at the part where I have to make it make sense. So here we are. I might leave. I am always like, I might just leave the bench, and then I usually change it. But I might actually just leave the bench this time, because it is very willowy. Oh yeah, what I should do... What I should do is change the floor. I feel like I'm just gonna use the same floor. And then we've got like a park bench. Oh, then we got like a ship. Yes. Then we've got like a ship. I'll take it. Joe, hang on! Joe! Look at this! I didn't get a ton done yesterday. I only do 2 strands a day, but look at this! Look at this! Look at this little mouth boy here. I started him yesterday. The bongo is coming along. This one is gonna be Ghastly. And this one is Haunter. And then this one is gonna be either Gengar or Mega Gengar. I barely know what I'm talking about. I barely know what I'm talking about, but that's what they're gonna be. And then these eyes are for the big, they're all like inside a big Gengar. So that's the big Gengar's eyes right there. And then there's like trees. This part is a tree. It's turning out well. Thank you, Shy. I have very heavily modified this pattern, so I appreciate the praise. I barely know anything about Pokemon, and I've very heavily modified this pattern. So if people are happy with it, especially Joe. Especially Joe, since it's for Joe. Rai Rai's here as well. Welcome in, Rai Rai. I'm up to the point of the video where it clicks in my character's head who her dad is. She was like, hold on a sec, I recognize your voice. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know that I'm gonna change a ton of this, because I feel like we've been sticking to mostly earthy colors. I feel like we've been sticking to mostly earthy colors? Earthy colors. And I feel like I'm gonna continue to stick with that. Is that even different from... it's ever so slightly different. Here we go again with trying to make wood tones match. Here we go again. Maybe I should just leave it. Honestly, maybe I should just leave it. I feel like most of my train exteriors end up having like very similar themes. Oh yeah, and then we can either... Ooh, that actually looks really good. Or we can have the stars outside. I like them both. Joe is on a 5-stream streak. Joe, thank you for hanging out. I took a nap because I was up at 5:30 to go hunt bourbon. How did the bourbon hunt go? I like them both. I wish I could have them both. I do think that's very willowy, I will say. Why can't I have the lights and the plants, yo? Why not both? I'm pretty happy with that. So here's what we have. This is my train. This is like my chill space. And we have Domran's train. A little more sophisticated. And then we have Willow's train. And then if we go interior, so this is Willow's interior that we just made. This is my default one, my chill, cool hangout space. And then this is Domran's train. Willow's train. I'm pretty happy with that. I do wish I could have the stars and the greenery at the same time. But I do think that's very willowy. If she was able to build her own train, I do think that's what it would look like. Not for bourbon, but to be up since 5:30. Man, I can't function that early in the morning. It's 3:30 for me now, no nap. Oh, Shy, you must be so tired. Your brain's been doing so much today. She works for the train. Someday they'll give her her own train, and this is what it will look like. And you'll be able to have starlights and the green stuff at the same time, okay? That's what will happen when it's Wallow's Tron. I guess we should do an outdoor activity. We should do an outdoor activity. With somebody. With one of our guys. There we go. We'll have a sippy sip with the teddy bear. And if we make it, one thing I've kind of learned about this map is if you make it night, there's an aurora. Pretty cool, huh? Why do I have her turned all the way around? That's hilarious. There we go. I am going to get the second sprint started here. I think I forgot to do the stretch for Blur, so there we go. You guys let me know how it's going in the chat while I dig deep into this battle scene and see if the rest of it is less of a disaster than it started. I don't have high hopes, but we're gonna find out. Oops. He accidentally repaused it when I was trying to unpause it. The word of the day is sharp. I've apparently used it 6 billion times in this scene. Leave for my flight in 5 hours, so I'm looking to try and keep my head busy so the time flies faster. Pie, I hope you have a fantastic flight. It sounds like it'll be an overnight flight, question mark? I hope it goes well. Cheers, let's have 3 hydrates. 3 hydrates for Pie on his way to vacation. A 1. A 2. A 3. 3 licks to the Tootsie Roll Center of Tootsie Pop. And never be sorry for just lurking, Pie. We appreciate you and all our lurkers. Flight is at 7:10 a.m. Oh, okay. Oh, dang. I never sleep before a flight either. Good luck. About 1.5 hours away from the airport. I hope it all goes smoothly, Pie, and I hope you have a fabulous time on your vacation. The Writers Troop, how's it going? I'm gonna pause the timer again. Longer sprint times today because stuff. Might not actually be able to finish during stream today. This is going quite roughly. Haven't seen you in a while. We'll be raiding in about 20 minutes. Had Dragon Con the end of August, so didn't stream for a week. Felt like I was gone forever. I hope you had a fabulous time at Dragon Con. Writers Troop, see you in about 20 minutes. Peter, hello. How's it going, my dear? we've got one scene doing what it's supposed to do. Huzzah. Whew. This scene is simultaneously rougher than I anticipated it would be, and also very important because it's like a big epic final clash, so I have to make sure that it's actually like doing everything that I need it to do. So this has been a rough ride this morning, but we are very slowly getting things where they need to be. I feel good about that previous scene. I don't know what awaits me in this final scene that I'm going to have to somehow switch around and make work, but I definitely think that I've gotten things in a good place. Why are we rough? Are you okay? Just when I wrote that scene, I just didn't really pay much attention to what I was writing. I just wrote whatever, and now I have to fix it. Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes you really think out a scene and you plan it and it goes really well. And sometimes you just write whatever the fuck and are like, that's future Megan's problem. And today it's present Megan's problem. So, cheers, Blur. With duct tape? I mean, hopefully not. But whatever we need. In fact, I'm going to pause the timer and take a quick break here so that I can use the restroom and reheat my coffee, and then I'll be right back. Sometimes you read it and go, wow, drafting me as an asshole. In this case, I feel like what happened was it was the last two scenes of a battle that once again I was like, oh, I left myself really detailed notes, and then I got there and I was like, no, I didn't leave myself really detailed notes. And so I had a concept of sort of what I wanted this battle to feel like. And what ended up happening was I didn't really execute that concept very well. So I had left myself a note about that particular chapter that I just finished editing, saying this idea is really cool, but the execution is sloppy. So I had to go over a couple of parts 2 or 3 times in order to kind of make sure it was all doing what I wanted it to do. When I'm doing mage battles, I like for them to not just feel like an anime where you're just lobbing ever larger blasts at each other. I like it to feel like there's an intention, and I like that intention to be tied to a certain type of power or conception of power, because I feel like the alteration of reality has to have some kind of logic woven into it. And so, what you're saying is it was outlining Megan's fault? I mean, at least partially. It was my fault at some point in time. But the concept of this was sort of battling something that is, at its conceptual core, pure creation. And so, what it can become and what it can do is very broad, because each time it takes a certain type of action, it is basically doing that from a standpoint of I can create anything, I can be anything, I can become whatever I need to be in this moment. And so I wanted to go back through and really sort of embody that idea of we are battling something that can remake itself, that can only ever be pushed back temporarily. And I do think I got there. I do think I eventually got there. It just took going over a couple of places a couple of extra times in order to feel like it was doing that. Now, I do have a note for myself that I feel like the first part of this chapter is really good. And that it's only the second half that needs more work. So it could be that I'll blow through the next 3 or 4 pages before I encounter anything that really needs me to dig into it again. Battle scenes are something I've always struggled with, and I've talked about this a lot. I usually write them in layers. So what will happen is I'll just get a very basis for the foundation of them, and then I typically do go back in the editing phase where we are now and fill it out a bit more and flesh it out and make it a bit more actually what I'm looking for. And I feel like I've done enough battle scenes over the years now, because I write a lot of epic fantasies, that I've actually gotten to a point where my first drafts of my battles are a lot more solid than they used to be, and this one just wasn't. Probably because I was struggling with a concept that I wasn't entirely sure how to communicate on the page. And so this one just needed a lot more energy devoted to it than I'm used to, because I've gotten a little bit spoiled with having figured out how to do certain things. So here we are now. It's done. We're on the last scene. And we'll just see. We'll just see how far I get in the last sprint. If I don't quite finish before lunch, it's not the end of the world. I'll finish afterwards, obviously. But obviously when you're editing something, you want it to be like, yeah, I've got this. This is super good, versus, oh no, this needs me to tear it apart and put it back together. So, you know, just kind of how it goes. let's do some gaming with this boy because I still just love that he basically just like slaps the thing. He's basically just like, yo, I'm gonna hit this and I don't know what it's gonna do, and that's okay. I've never really written a fight scene for a novel, but I have scripted a couple of fights and they're a pain in the ass. It's so intricate and has to make sense, and I just want it to be like X hits Y hits X, and the dick at Y falls down. I imagine that choreographing a real fight is much harder than what I do, which is largely imagination. Although I will say I have attended actual sword classes. So I do. Writer's Troop, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. So I have attended actual, like, historical sword fighting classes where they show you, like, how to actually use a longsword and what is actually involved in, like, how longsword combat would have been. I have witnessed demonstrations by a friend of mine who is very good with the katana, so he knows all of the katana forms, and he is able to take me through, this is what it looks like when you draw, this is what it looks like when you wield the katana properly. Like, this is the stance, these are the forms, which was very helpful for writing Damarin because Damarin's swords are modeled after katanas. They are long, light blades with a slight curve to them that are designed for both slicing and piercing, which is what katanas are, versus like actual regular long swords, which are mostly not for slicing. They were mostly designed for piercing. So, like, I've studied enough about combat to know, like, the distinctions. I've been able to see some actual demonstrations and speak to some people who actually have those skills. So I know, in theory, like, how it's actually supposed to work. But if you're doing, like, a movie and you have to actually, like, do the thing... Dents, hello! If you have to actually do the thing, if you actually have to have two people doing the choreography, it's way more complicated than me just being like, and then this happened, and it's theoretically possible for that to happen. Cheers, Dents. How's it going? Megan is Gomez Adams. Am I? Why Gomez? Vanessa, how was your stream today? How was your productivity? I hope it went well. The worst part about writing a script with a fight scene is future drafts would be like, yeah, that's cut. We don't need that. Whereas a novel is much more permanent. I mean, the kids are asleep. Heck yeah, came over with the raid. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. I never really understood how swords work in battles. Different swords work differently. That's the short answer. William Wallace had such a massive fucking sword, like the size of his sword is astonishing, and I don't understand how they slice and are useful. William Wallace's sword isn't that much longer or bigger than a regular longsword. Longswords be long. Like, taller than me. And you mostly just... The idea is you slam it against your opponent. Like, you're almost just using it like a club. But your opponent's going to slam their sword back on yours to block it. And so it almost becomes a wrestling match. The idea is that you have to break through the guard of your opponent. And you're basically just battering each other with pure strength. In order to do damage with a longsword, you would pierce with it. So you would thrust with it. You aren't going to get a lot of slicing damage with a traditional, like, longsword from, like, England. You would get damage from that by just shoving it through the body. But there's armor in the way. So it almost ends up just being a really fancy, sharp club, cudgel type thing. But again, katanas are designed differently, and combat was handled differently in Japan. And so a katana does actually do slicing damage. A katana can slice through bone if it's wielded properly. Big swords aren't for close quarters combat. Yeah, it basically becomes a wrestling match if you do use them in close quarters combat. Half swording makes it quite effective and still gives you the threat of your reach. I don't entirely understand that statement, but I feel like I know what you mean. Stream went well, though I didn't actually get anything done I meant to get done. Got distracted by a bunch of small things that needed to get done. It sounds like you were productive, though. It sounds like you got things that needed done. How's it going? How's the creative process? It's rough today, my dude. We're having a rough time. Battle scenes, but we're getting there. I started with a scene that was not doing what I wanted it to do, and it is now doing what I want it to do. So that's a good thing. Longsword's not that long, actually. I have one. I'm taller. How tall are you? The kids are asleep. I'm quite short. I remember, I don't think it was, I feel like it was taller than me, but I don't think it was actually taller than me. But when we did the longsword thing, I remember thinking, wow, this is like almost as tall as me. A lot of different techniques. You can check out manuals online. Yes, or lots of places have like historical societies where you can actually go and do a sword training class, which is what we did. So like there's this historical society in our town that we're not a part of. They very graciously did like a one-time lesson for us. And at the end of the lesson, 2 of the people who have actually like done the training did a sword fight for us. So we were able to essentially watch them use all the skills that we were not executing properly, and it was very fascinating. If I disappear, sardonisms, if you disappear, have a good rest of your day. We appreciate you. I hope it doesn't happen, but if your battery runs out, we understand. That sounds like the English to ruin the fun of swords by wearing armor. I mean, you didn't want to get your arm chopped off. I threw Axis a couple of weeks ago for the first time. It was fun. I'd make an awful Viking, though. I really would love to try axe throwing at some point. There's a place in town where we can do it, but I'm always sick whenever my friends go. But I'd love to try it. It's a thing that I don't have experience with. Half swording is when you grab the middle of the sword with your offhand and get stabby. Ooh, that makes sense. And then you kiss the homie with this sword in your hand? I don't think so. You're taller than me. Kids are asleep. I am a mere 5'2". If you're close enough to kiss, you're in big trouble. You did HEMA and stage combat. Yes! I think HEMA is what we have. I think there's a branch of them here. I don't remember the exact name, but it was very cool. Half swording is a technique where you're holding your blade in the middle with a gauntleted hand. It allows one holding of the weapon to have a lot of control over a large... I'm gonna file this away for later. Some of those small things are my job, and then I made them more complicated and made her make extra decisions. Astrid Starry, hello. Ooh, fencing is another thing that's entirely different. Because the weapon is designed differently. It's smaller and lighter, so it's designed for speed. Fencing is neat, but definitely different depending on the sword. 100%. I have a character who, so most of my characters, their fighting styles are designed around different real-world styles of fighting. So Dameron is based very heavily on Japanese-style sword fighting, because the elves in the world that I write him in have a similar technique of weapon making. So his background is in that type of sword fighting. And then Silkfoot, my pirate character, his fighting style is based heavily around fencing. So he has that, small, light weapon, fast movement type of fighting style, which is very different. And then I have another character who is based on close quarters combat, which is a more his fighting style is based more on modern military close quarters combat. So he primarily uses knives, and he gets like right up in your face to beat the crap out of you. So it's definitely, if you want to write fighting scenes, it's definitely a good idea. My knowledge is limited. There's people in this chat that obviously know way more than I do. Woof is here! Hello, Woof. Dense and Kids Are Asleep have obviously had way more experience with this than I have, but getting yourself a grounding in actual, like, combat styles really, really helps, because at least you know the realm, the realm that you are dealing with, and what's possible within it. So at least I have a basis for, like, when I'm thinking, oh, this character's fighting style is this, then I at least know how that's used and what to do with it. And then, you know, I can take some liberties because I'm working in a fantasy world where there's magic and there's metals that don't exist in our world that are stronger and lighter, like mithril can be a thing and all that kind of stuff. But I at least know the realm of territory that I'm working in, and it makes it feel more consistent that my characters act in a certain way because they're based on, like, real world fighting styles. This book, though, it's all magic. The combat that I'm writing today is all magic. It's magic versus magic, so there's no grounding. There's no basis for real world combat in what I'm doing today. It's 100% hypothetical because it's all magic. It's all reality bending. It doesn't make sense, which makes it also more complicated. Oh, I think of fencing and I think of Gomez Adams. I see. I did axe throwing when I was at the Ren Fair. It was fun. Nice! Ghost has done it. Ghost has done it with Mr. Roboto. I'm just making sure. Astrid, I'm 5'8". You're so much taller than me. I'm fun-sized. Going to be DMing my own D&D campaign? That sounds awesome! I want a romance like Gomez and Morticia. Goals. Relationship goals. Lurk for the train! Agent Phoenix deals a lot with 1940s military tactics. Nice. Sorry, I gotta catch up on chat really quickly so we can do the final sprint. Ultimately, are you writing for the sword nerds or for the people who want to see the fighter's kiss? That's a good point, too. I try to mix in just enough real-world basis that someone who does know about it isn't going to throw my work in the fire, but also I try not to get too bogged down in the technicalities of it because most people are just going to be like, that was cool. Or whatever. Unless you're writing for the sword nerds, rule of cool applies. Kids Are Asleep is on my wavelength. Megan, you nerd! Woof, you also nerd. I love you. I hope you're having a good day. A supernatural mystery. It's going to be connected to the world of my stories. Heck yeah! Always write for your lovers, not your haters. Hundo P. Ghost X Mr. Roboto hot. Listen, they work together. They do stuff together. Okay, I gotta take off my sweater because I'm getting overheated. I think having a grounding in, like, real world techniques is helpful for you as a writer to, like, feel confident about what you're doing. But 100% what Kids Are Asleep said, rule of cool applies. You don't want your work to feel too realistic unless you're writing in the real world, because you want it to be cool. You want it to be this epic fantasy thing. So, like I said, I like to ground my characters in real world techniques, and I know Domran's fighting style is this, Silkfoot's fighting style is this, Greg's fighting style is this, but they also are in a world with magic and crazy metals and all kinds of like developments over time that our world doesn't have because those things exist. So sometimes I'm like, this is just going to be what happens because it sounds cool. Cheers. Twitch has censored you, nerd? What? It didn't give me the option to not censor you, nerd. We love all of our nerds here. We cherish them. We welcome them and their nerdery. With fighting stuff, a lot of the times you establish just enough for similitude and then lean on the vibes. Exactly. That's exactly what I try to do. I don't know how good I am at it, but that's exactly what I try to do. You summed it up so much more succinctly than I did. This is official nerd space. We want you to embrace every part of your inner nerd here in this stream. We love nerdery. We love hearing about your nerdery. Do whatever makes your weird little nerd heart happy is one of my favorite things to say about me and my friends, and it applies to all of you as well. Also, I love that we have people with combat expertise in chat, because you know I'm gonna message you at some point and be like, hey, tell me more about this. Using verisimilitude proves the nerdiness. Cheers. I love you guys. You guys are getting me through today. My eyes are still watering. It's so smoky here this week. Also, Astrid, feel free to talk as much as you want about your idea. I'll check it at the end of the spront. Bruce is here. Bruce, thank you so much for those biddies. creative one. Hello, hello. How's it going? Need to run. Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your stream. Vanessa, thank you so much for dropping by. It's so good to see you again. I hope you had tons of fun at the con, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. And thank you so much for the raid. Very much appreciated. I forgot how emotional this scene is. It is a good feeling to get emotional at your own writing, for sure. Oh shit, the battle's not over yet. we'll stop there. I do need to go make some food, unfortunately. I've still got about a page and a half left to go, but I think I will do that while I am cooking my lunch. So we are gonna head over to a raid. It's been, wow, just a heck of a day. The end of this book, such a wild ride. But I think I'm over the rough patch. I think I got everything doing what it needs to do. I don't anticipate that I'm gonna need to do a ton else with this scene. And in typical me fashion, I left a note for myself that I disagreed with because I instantly came up with a better idea for the next book. So I didn't end up doing some of the things I was originally gonna do. Yes, I'm gonna catch up on chat quick before we go. I got a lot, so bear with me here for a moment. The idea I have so far for the story of the campaign is that the players are playing as agents of the government organization in my story known as SPEARS, Supernatural Protection Enforcement and Artifact Research. This sounds so fucking cool! It's going to be set around the 1920s to 40s, I'm not sure which exactly, and the players are going to have to deal with unraveling the mystery of this secret occult group that is trying to revive a dead religion and bring back an evil god. This sounds so like a cross between like SCP and the Cthulhu game. Like, I don't know which system you're using, but there is a Cthulhu RPG, like TTRPG, and it sounds like it would fit this so well. Happy to relay any questions about medieval sword fighting to boyfriend? Heck yeah! I'd love to hear from him. I know nothing, but he's deep in that stuff for a long time. Nice. That sounds really cool. The 1920s, if that's what you end up choosing, is one of my favorite modern time periods. I do think the 20s don't get used as often as, like, they could. It's a very interesting time period. 20s to 40s are my favorite time. I have an older World War II double-breasted wool coat. Nice! Most people call that the prime of your life. Lol. The main villain of the campaign is a part of the occult group, and it's like the head of it is going to be a Russian woman who is part of Spear but defected. Ooh, I've made a whole government file about it, fictional government file. Sarah Asimov, sister to Xavier Asimov, former KGB Russian spy. Sarah is currently MIA. This sounds so cool, Astrid. It sounds like you are having tons of fun. I love this. I want to hear how it goes when you get started. This sounds like such a fun time. Creative One says, workies, I'm start on shift soon, but just dropping in. We're always happy to see you. I assume you've probably started working by now, but we're happy to see you. I hope it goes well. Editing done, time to render. I wish you smooth rendering, Blur. Sure I didn't miss any hydrates. Emotions are not the one. I can see what they're trying to do, but they just don't work. Peter. I made myself cry with a TikTok I made for the end of this year's Fringe. Listen, I cry at the drop of a hat. There's nothing wrong with crying. Was there a timer? I'm sure I saw a timer. There was a timer, but now it's gone. It did end and I did keep going. That's exactly what happened. I was in the zone. Kind of notes I leave to myself are to Peter, suck it, love Peter. Didn't Wolf tell you to leave a nice note to yourself, Peter? I would love to follow up on that and find out what nice note you left to yourself. I might have found something to read. It sounds overdramatic and deliciously angsty. I'm so glad. Exactly what I was going for. Astrid, I think you're nailing it. You're nailing it. I can't wait to hear more. That sounds like so much fun. Triangle Agency is a fun TTRPG with that vibe. I've not heard of that one. I have to look into it. Thank you, Kids Are Asleep. All I know about the 20s is that they were followed by the Great Depression. Yeah, the Roaring 20s was like when everyone was like just throwing money at everything, like there was no tomorrow because they didn't understand how money actually worked. And then that's what led to the Great Depression, partly. Ghosts can explain it better, but yeah, the 20s were just a wild ride. The Great War had ended and everybody was just throwing money at everything. Exactly. They were like, it's never gonna change. Throw money at it. It went very smoothly. It's actually ready to have a description and title types up. Heck yeah! Well, you guys, this has been a delightfully nerdy and fun day. I'm so glad I got to hang out with you guys. And I really appreciate it because this was a rough edit for me today. I know sometimes it seems like I come on stream and I just sail through everything and it's all wonderful and just super easy. Like I know that I sometimes give that impression, but man, some days it's just a struggle. So I'm happy to have you guys here helping me get through doing these things, getting to the end of this book. I was very nervous when I started editing today that the end of this book was going to be a total disaster, but I feel much better about it now. And I appreciate that you guys have been here throughout all of this to chat and hang out and get some work done. If you've heard of the video game Control, I have. It's loosely based on SCP, which I've also heard of. And Triangle Agency is what if Control is corporate instead of government? Oh, interesting. Okay. I've read several of the SCP files. I have a friend who's really into them. So I'm passingly familiar with it. That was what it reminded me of, too. My understanding was the Depression happened because banks were allowed to gamble or spend all of the money that was supposed to be in accounts with them, and they didn't have to actually keep anything for people who wanted to withdraw. That's part of it, yeah. They didn't actually keep money. They still don't actually... The banks still don't actually have your money, like, in a vault. Money's weird, you guys. Did I miss anything? It's one of the nicer notes I've left myself. I just don't like me. Peter, we like you. Write yourself nice affirmations, and I'm like, I don't know these words, I will not respond. Just treat yourself the way you'd treat your friends, Peter. Write a note to yourself as if you were writing it to me. Write a note to me and then read it to yourself and take it for yourself. We are gonna head over to Cat's Chaos Cafe. It looks like they are working on... It says Chaos Writing Sprints with Friends, so it looks like they are in a break and talking at the moment, but let's head over there. This is it for me this week on my channel. But if you would like more of me at some point this week doing more crazy chaotic things, on Saturday night at 7:30 PST in the evening, I will be on It's Woof's channel. Probably playing Tiny Bookshop and just shooting the shit with Woof. So if you would like to just be more nerdy, we are there with the club. I do have a Discord. It's called the Pepper Patch. It's shared with my husband, so don't be alarmed if you get in there and don't immediately see my branding. You can find me on there as well, and I will be back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10:30 a.m. PST. We are going to be writing up a storm from here until the end of the year. Edits are done. It is time for writing. We're going to be writing Ghost Path. We're going to be writing the final Everyone's Child book. Spicy McSpiceface is going to be writing at some point in time. It's going to be crazy. So I will see you guys all again soon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me through these crazy, chaotic edits today. I love you all. You're amazing. Remember to eat, to sleep, to drink, to take your meds if you need to get up and move around because you're important. And I'll see you again very soon.
For a work